A lot of you enjoyed my deep dive last week, and I was really unsure about making this video. I didn't know if it was too controversial, especially for YouTube. And if we are going to talk about it, we're definitely going to have to use some coding, so read between the lines. But just a fair warning, if you haven't seen the film and you're not a fan of social commentary in horror movies, then this video might not be for you. This is going to be a fairly heavy video with the topics and themes discussed, as well. Major spoiler alert, because today we're talking about Spree, the explosive 2020 horror starring everyone's favorite babysitter, Joe Keery. Spree hit VOD in August of 2020 after its premiere at the Sundance Film Festival, where the director gave a meta opening to his post-screening Q&A by asking the audience, hey, I'm gonna live stream this. Is that okay? Because that's the core of this film, which, mind you, is labeled as a crime, horror, comedy, action. We'll get back to the comedy later, don't worry. As per Rotten Tomatoes, Spree's shallow critique of social media culture lacks depth, which is precisely the point. The film holds up a mirror to the shallowness of society and the desperation of fame through social media. And surely, because this is a commentary, it must draw inspiration from real life examples. And that's what I plan to get to the bottom of today in this video. Because as soon as this film dropped everywhere, people couldn't help but draw parallels between haunting real stories and the character of Kirk Kunkel. So is this a case of life imitating art, or art imitating the darkest parts of reality? Straight out the gate, I want to say this is not a personal attack on this film. I actually really enjoy this film, and I'm going to kind of explain my reasonings for that and why I think it's a lot deeper than people first realize. The idea for this came from conversations I've had with a lot of viewers that I follow back on social media, and I see them watching Spree, and I'm curious to see if they have drawn the same conclusions that I have. And today I really wanted to dive in and pull out some examples and show you, from my perspective, my theories on what this is actually based on. This film is so scary because Joe Keery's presentation as Kurt is so spot on. He has done a lot of research and things I won't even discuss in this video, like he went and took Ubers every single day to just see what the interactions were like in the back seat. He played this character to a T. But let's do a quick recap on the film if you haven't watched it recently. The movie follows Kurt, a struggling content creator. You can see he's imitated exactly what he's seen from other successful influencers. Draw My Lives, product reviews, basically copying what he sees online in hopes of creating a following. But nothing seems to be working, and what we come to find is that Kurt lacks emotional intelligence and connection to his audience, or really anyone. As a last-ditch effort to have the fame he's always dreamed of, or really the term should be to go viral, he combines his ride-sharing job, driving for a company called Spree, with a live stream and goes on, well, a spree, killing his passengers over one night. Interesting enough, every character we encounter during his spree presents a stereotype, especially a stereotype in LA. We basically make a snap decision on these people he encounters by their one conversation with him. And for some reason, we only encounter easily dislikable characters. First, Kurt picks up a racist, then we get a homophobe and a sexist. But as this trails off, eventually you just have to be partying and maybe doing some blow in the back seat to warrant being killed. What I'm trying to say here is that they feed into stereotypes really easily in this film, and people just seem to share all. It makes you wonder who the protagonist is meant to be, and for me, honestly, it's no one. But then Kurt's character is caught off guard when he interacts with Jessie Adams, a comedian with a decent following. Jessie is the closest we come to a protagonist, but this is not her story, and at the end, she profits off this disaster, taking a selfie with a corpse, which I'm sure if you've been on YouTube for a while, does sound familiar. So what is this film truly based on? It's time to do some research and find out. So at first the screenwriters said that this is purely fiction, fictional story, fictional characters. But when they did their Q&A for the Sundance Film Festival, they let something slip. The quote is, "We should take a horrible thing that happened and use it." They then built on this unnamed inspiration, and it turned into what would happen in this situation if this person was desperate for fame, and what would happen if it wasn't just documented like a normal film, but it was caught on live stream. In their words, the story became bigger because when you talk about murder and attention, that's like an epidemic pandemic in our country, so linking all these things together felt very necessary. They never discussed the true case they were referring to, but people speculate it's the case of Jason Dalton, an Uber driver who went on a spree ending the lives of 6 people in 2016. But I think it goes back a little bit further than this, to 2014. Here's my theory. As someone like many of you who follow true crime, I could not shake the comparisons of killer Elliot Rodger. Elliot was a small YouTuber involved in the incel community, and after my research, I'm telling you, there's no way that this film wasn't based on him. As I said, in 2014, he went on a spree ending 6 people's lives, and he also injured 14 others. As an incel, he explained in his last video titled Elliot Rodger's Retribution that he wanted to target sexually active men because he envied them, and women because he felt rejected by them. You can still find some of his videos online, buried. They're really dark and shocking. I would not recommend looking them up. And for the writers of the film to say this isn't based on anything or inspired by anyone, well, I'm just going to show you. The tape doesn't lie. The inspiration is pulled directly from the source. What you're looking at is a side-by-side comparison of Kurt in the film Spree and Rodger's own videos on YouTube. Here is where the inspiration for Kurt lies, in someone who is frustrated by society, frustrated and not being accepted or fitting in. Kurt also has a lot of incel messaging, but it's kind of hidden.
She's going to get 1 million views tonight, and I'm going to get nothing?
The dog filter?
No. I'm not letting that happen. It should be my audience. And if I can't have it, why can she have it?
But my biggest supporting theory in this is the ending. And I know a lot of people were shocked by the finale, the grand finale with the bloodshed and the action and the death. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what happens after that. The final sequence, which is a screen share that shows this sick cycle that is ignored. We start with the obvious, don't say his name, but the fame he wanted is delivered by the news cycle, which it finds its way to the deepest parts of the web, which in turn gets made into a documentary for the morbidly curious. Cue the subreddit based on him, then the fandom. People are calling themselves Curties, inspired by him. You then realize in this parallel universe that they made a film about this story, which is the film you just watched. I mean, as stated earlier, for people to call this shallow, that's the problem. The obvious truth that we're easily shrugging off this stereotype of an antisocial human begging for attention, and the truth being ignored starts this cycle again. Are you spiraling yet? Just me? Kiri also slipped some further inspiration behind his character in this film. He told The Hollywood Reporter, "What was most important for me and most helpful was watching the people who really don't have any sort of viewership at all. A lot of those people share many qualities with Kurt because they're trying to gain some traction. They're trying to harvest, if you will, followers." There's so much desperation behind the character, and he presented this really well in the film.
Influencer to influencer, and I know it's a huge ask, but if you could just like pop me onto your story, I got a huge audience watching right now. Follow for follow, and if you post anything in my spree, just make sure to tag me. I'm Kurt's World 96.
Begging for shout outs and losing his cool when he finds out someone has a following, any type of following. For him, it's a chance to prove that he's worthy or be a part of society. Kiri said that he was also sent a compilation of influencers and streamers by the director. These were of controversial videos from people like Logan Paul and Ninja. I'm sure you don't have to guess which video from Logan Paul it was. And it should be noted that Kurt's faux friend in the film is a successful YouTuber that mirrors these influencers, creating fake pranks for views, including using fake homeless folk as actors. I love the title of this non-apology video. And it's no surprise what the metaphorical demise of Kurt is, since he ends up dying at the hand of his own phone, which Jesse uses as a weapon. He's literally killed by the thing he loves the most, his own live stream. Hey, remember when I pointed out earlier that this is labeled as a comedy? You have to give credit where credit is due, because the fact we are all watching this sick show as a form of entertainment is part of it, because there's this reoccurring idea shown in the film about what's real versus what's fake. At the very start, he talks about his reaction to historical events.
No one could ever forget an event like that, real or fake.
And it takes a while for anyone to catch on to what he is doing and that it's real. Because since it's online in a sea of saturated fake content for views, it's hard to know what's real. Jesse also makes this statement.
How are we supposed to know who we are as people if we're just hamming it up all the time?
So the film does work as an act of fiction, and in the end, the directors and writers for this film saying that the film is purely fictional is kind of part of the gag. So whether it's art imitating life or life imitating some fucked up truth, it doesn't really matter because it's what we perceive to being truth and what we want to accept as the truth. Honestly, I have so many more thoughts about this film. We didn't even get to touch on the crazy cast. Did you catch David Arquette as the father? Or about Jesse's toxic relationship with social media and how addictive it is once you're in that cycle. I believe this film is so much more than a shallow representation of fame-hungry stereotypes in LA, and the deeper you go, the more terrifying it is. But we've done enough spiraling today. I would love to hear your thoughts on this down below and what you think the inspiration for this film was. I also would love to hear about if there are any horror movies that you think are way deeper than people make them out to be. I'd love to hear about that in the comments. Thank you so much for being here today. I do new videos every single week talking about horror movies, talking about thrillers, doing deep dives, and giving you non-spoiler reviews so you know what to watch. Basically, we're here to discuss horror movies and thrillers and everything dark cinema. If you want more, please subscribe. Remember, I'm on Instagram and TikTok, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. I promise the next video will be a little bit lighter. Bye, friends.